What is up, YouTube's Mountain Man Magic? And we hit 5K subs, which is pretty awesome. That's pretty cool. So that means it's time to do a Q&A video. I got some questions from Twitter and from my patrons and just from some friends. So I'm gonna go through those questions, and if you have another one that maybe I don't get to or don't touch on, feel free to leave a comment and I will answer it there. Yeah, let's get into it. Okay, now before I just start answering these, just know I'm not going to edit this very much. This is just going to be stream of consciousness, answer the questions, get my raw and unfiltered thoughts. So here we go. First one from Biensona, awesome patron. Thank you for the question. Other than Chromium, what is your favorite card? What is my least favorite card as well? That's a good question. He knows me well because Chromium is definitely my favorite card from my childhood. Made a video about him because I'm such a huge fan. But more recent favorite card, it'd have to be one that there's some nostalgia around. That I still use today, it'd have to be Liliana the Last Hope. My wife has far better luck than I do when it comes to pulling cards, bar none. But Liliana the Last Hope, and I'm looking over here because there's a calendar of Liliana Vess, of all the Planeswalkers, and she's February. And yeah, Liliana Vess, I'm just a big fan of her, what I know of her story. I don't know all of it, but she has a good arc, you know, rise and fall and such. She was pretty good in that trailer video we had for War of the Spark, however long ago. Just a big fan of her story, and I hope we get more cards from her because everyone that we do get usually ends up in my wife's mono black commander deck as well, which is always a lot of fun. So big fan of Liliana Vess in general as a favorite character, and then card right now is Liliana the Last Hope. That gives me a warm and fuzzy feeling, which is absolutely not the point of that card. My least favorite would probably be Teferi, because this is kind of spoiling a bit of another video I'm going to be making here, hopefully pretty soon, but back in the invasion days, he ran like he was a coward. Stuff was happening, and he's like, I'm just going to phase out. And then he comes back with our revisit to Dominaria as Teferi, the hero of Dominaria. I think not, people. Yeah, absolutely not. And then when you look at just his place in the meta as of late, it's just been as the controlling, obnoxious character that prevents your opponent from having fun and does all kinds of super powerful stuff. He feels overpowered, which generally I get like a personal angst against cards that feel overpowered, and Teferi's definitely there. So I think least favorite has to be Teferi. And if I have to be specific, I've just played more against 3 fairy to 3 fairy. The one that I can't remember the name of, but from War of the Spark, the one that prevents any instant speed stuff, not a fan of that card. Next question, what do you think it will take for Wizards of the Coast to ban Island, since that card enables so many degenerate combos? That is a great question. Probably never, but whenever they do it, it's not soon enough. But in all seriousness, what are your plans for the channel for the next 5K subs? Interesting question. I think for me, when it comes to making content and just thinking of the future, my goal is to just make content that I enjoy making. Because if I'm not making it, or if I'm not enjoying making it, I think y'all are going to pick up on that pretty quickly. I think that's going to be pretty evident in the quality of what I'm putting out as well. So when my focus is really just to keep making content that I enjoy, that's current, that is well done as well as I can make it, and is engaging for you all, where you want to share it or stay engaged with the channel, comment on it, like it, all that good stuff. Yeah, so nothing dramatic. Hopefully I can work with some more content creators. That would definitely be a goal. And I think that's probably in my best interest as well, to figure out a way to work with other creators, as well as just find a way to get my name out there a bit more while bringing value to channels that are much bigger than me. That's definitely something that I need to get more involved in, and I'm certainly interested in as well. Next question, Eric Williamson. Are you attending any events this year? Playing Commander? If no, what would it take you to attend the events or to get you there? Time and money, I suppose, is what it would take to get me there. I'm not planning to attend any events this year. Unfortunately, being in Jackson, Wyoming, travel is not cheap, and nor is the cost of living, so that's tough. I am definitely playing Commander, though. We play here with a weekly friend group just about every Thursday. That's the goal, largely focused on Commander. The occasional draft or just whatever anyone else is feeling, but Commander is usually the focus of our meetups. But I wish I was going to an event. I think it'd be phenomenal to get to meet a lot of y'all in person, get to meet other content creators, and just play more events in person. I think that's a huge benefit to the Magic community, is just how fun the game is and the social aspect of it. And that's something that would love any opportunity to get to do at any time. Great way to wrap that up. Next question, Snaky Dragon. What's your favorite color? Not Magic related, just your actual favorite color. Blue. As you can tell by this very blue shirt that I'm wearing. But yeah, I've just always liked blue. Pretty simple answer there. I like the sky blue. I remember there was a crayon in a Crayola box. And it was, I can't remember the name of it, but it was like an ocean blue. We need more of those. Big fan of that Crayola crayon. Okay. And then you also go on to say you had a crappy pre-release, but didn't get salty or anything. Good job. Way to keep that composure. And then the next day, you went 3-0 and 2-headed giant. So good on you. Way to redeem yourself and have a strong finish. Other question, if you could change one thing about the color pie philosophy in Magic. Green should get flyers, white should be able to draw cards, blue should not be able to loot, etc. What would you change? That's a good question. I don't really have like a specific thing, but I think you hitting on blue not being able to loot, I think that is a good one to maybe start with. I think blue overall is the more or most likely to be labeled overpowered in the color pie, and I think part of that has to do with Wizards' interpretation of whatever their place in the color pie is being then translated into cards and functionality in the game. I think blue is given the most leeway, and I don't know if that's, I don't want to say to blame, I don't want to give like a negative connotation, but it feels like the team or individuals or mindset around blue is the most open and the most, or given the most free reign, the most flexibility when it comes to designing cards. The fact that it is the color that draws you more cards, is able to counter other spells, has the most interaction or no shortage of interaction, seems strong. And I think as the game matures, I think as we better understand what strategies are just inherently or more often stronger than others, in Magic, typically having more cards means you're going to win more often. So the color that does that more often is going to be stronger more often. I've said that phrase more often a lot. But I think there's something in blue that needs to be tweaked or moved away from or shared with the other colors, because there's something inherently strange to me about blue having no shortage of answers or ways to get around threats, being the one that can draw the most cards, and then being the one that also has the ability to find those answers more often than not. Like every other color has to just kind of draw it. You just hope to draw it at some point in the game, or else you're not doing so hot. While blue has the ability to buy time and to dig deeper into the deck to find what you need. So there's something off for me that the color that has the most answers also has the highest ability, the most likelihood of finding whatever answers they do need, while the other colors are kind of stuck running with the cards they draw. Yeah, so I would just change the philosophy around blue, the flexibility it's given, and the free reign it's essentially handed when it comes to set design. Moving on. Okay, Westwind Wade. Question, do you think removals are better than bombs in limited? That's a good question. In general, it seems like bombs are weaker than the removal. I think Wizards has done a really good job of having good balanced limited environments. I think the biggest issue, maybe not the biggest, one of the bigger issues with Theros Beyond Death is that the removal is so limited in white and black. Like blue has a few answers or options, but also then has counter spells. So they're probably in the middle of the pack. And then green having any removal is a shock. It's got a couple that are pretty strong, and then red has a couple, but like really none. So I think that's the biggest, or one of the bigger frustrations for me, is that you have a set where the bombs are so strong that it makes the format feel like a Prince or Pauper set. So with the question like this, I would think about, when I think of a set that doesn't have a well-balanced removal pool, that it's not a super fun environment to play in. At least that's been my experience with Theros Beyond Death. Then you look at other sets like Dominaria, Ravnica Allegiance, where there's a good amount of removal, and those feel pretty strong. But also the bombs feel a bit more limited, so I don't know if it's one or the other. It just feels like you have to have that balance of good bombs have to come with good removal. I would side with a set having better bombs over removal if I have to pick one. Sure. Moving on, Antarctic Int. 6 questions. All right, we're going to get through this. I appreciate all the questions, y'all. Seriously. All right, first, do you think MTG will be better off if they also implemented a rule of 6, like in Keyforge? I don't know what the rule of 6 is, but thankfully enough, you explained what it is. Combos can only resolve 6 times, or something like that. Okay, that's an interesting thought. I've never heard of that. I've never played Keyforge, hence why I probably don't know the rule. But saying something like, instead of I gain infinite life or I do infinite damage and win the game, I can only gain 6 life or trigger this 6 times or ping you 6 times. I think from a flavor standpoint, it makes sense to have something like that. Like if you're thinking of two wizards battling and you say, I enact this infinite combo where I ping you 1,000,000 times. I think of it like one wizard is saying, just hold on. And they're like pinging the other person. And the other person's just standing there saying, oh, I just got pinged again. Oh, I just got pinged again. I wonder why that's happening. Oh, I got pinged again. And they're just going to stand there and do nothing about it, right? Because there's still time. Even though it all goes on the stack, it still takes some amount of time. And the idea that a wizard would not respond to something happening infinite times seems strange to me. If they implemented, though, like that's a massive change to the landscape of the game. And I guess it comes down to the conversation of what's more important, the flavor or the functionality of the game. I don't think it makes sense to really just copy over another thing that works in a different game. You know, it would be something that I think the community in the game would be able to adopt and evolve around, but it's not something that I would spring to as if it solves a lot of problems. Granted, I don't play a ton of competitive Magic. I'm more of a casual commander type of guy or limited guy, and you don't see a ton of the necessity of something like this in those formats. Or if you're playing it in Commander, usually it's like a fun thing, like, oh, I finally got this combo off. You know, our playgroups style has been pushing towards more competitive builds. I wouldn't jump to it. I don't see a reason to really implement it or that it would solve some problem that a large percentage of the player base is complaining about. Favorite character in MTG? Since BN Sona said I couldn't say Chromium, I'll say it for you, that Chromium's my favorite character, and that's just that nostalgia of having a connection to a card that you, for whatever reason, were really fond of when you were first learning the game, that you saw in a light that isn't necessarily realistic now or makes sense now, but Chromium's always just going to be that card and that character that I'm a huge fan of, and I hope we see more of. Please, Wizards, please, let's see more Chromium. Number 3, what other board card games do you play and or enjoy? I have a stack of them actually on this table right next to me. Let's go down the list. The Resistance is a really good card game if you've got like a group of friends to play with and you just want to have a lot of arguments. You know, there's not as much logic or strategy to it, but the Resistance is pretty good. I think Secret Hitler, YouTube's probably going to demonetize me for saying that, but that's probably the best version of that type of game. It's like Mafia. Like if you ever played Mafia as a kid growing up, that's the gist of the game. It's just really fun to get really animated and try and see how good your acting skills are. Like, no, I'm not part of the Resistance. No, I'm definitely not part of the. I'm a good guy. You can trust me. So I'm a big fan of that kind of game. My wife and I play a good amount of Yahtzee. Codenames is a popular one. Splendor is a quiet game. If you just want some quiet thinking, strategizing, Splendor's a good one. Settlers of Catan, obviously that's a big one. Do you guys say Catan or Catan? Catan. I usually say Settlers of Catan, and then I'll say Catan if I'm wanting to sound sophisticated. And then Scrabble. I like Scrabble and Ticket to Ride. Those are the ones that we currently have. I don't think there's any other ones. Yeah, but honestly, I just like games. My favorite thing about games are the social aspect. So typically, if I'm gonna want to play a game, especially with a group of people, there's got to be some social element to it. It's one reason I think Magic's kind of special in that regard. Gets you socializing, gets you out there playing with other people, hanging out with other folks. And I think a lot of those games do the same thing. Except for Splendor. Yeah, that's a very quiet, just thinking, nonstop kind of game. Next question is, what's your view on MTG Finance and the reserve list? First, I gotta give a shout out to Exotic MTG. He sent me this awesome, it's got a little Planeswalker emblem. I don't know if you can see the light catching it there, but it's just an awesome mug, and it's got like a sleek, not super obvious Planeswalker symbol. So if someone who does like Magic sees it, I'm excited for that day to happen, but it's just also a really nice memento that he sent out to everyone that took part in his 31 days of Christmas giveaway. Random plug to him. He just does amazing giveaways and just makes great content. So if you like MTG Finance, if you want to get into MTG Finance and looking at stuff like that, he's a great channel to check out. There's a random segue. Moving on. My views on MTG Finance and the reserve list. That's a rabbit hole I haven't gone down much. I don't get into the game that much. To me, it's a social tool. It's something that's great to really make connections to people, and it's a game that I value highly because of how important it can be, especially to young people, to find something to be confident in, to be successful at, you know, to figure out like, hey, I can win something. I can do well at this. That's my focus on the game. People that want to spend their, like, time is money. That's your resource. If that's what you spend your time doing is tracking card prices to benefit yourself or, you know, lessen the cost of this hobby or whatever, I get that side of it. you know, to me, there's really not much difference between the Magic market and anything else like trading stocks, whatever, what have you. It is a great example of the haves versus the have-nots. Like if you have Power 9 and such, like I hope to one day have a page of Power 9, but I have none and don't expect to get any anytime soon. Those cards aren't going down in price anytime soon. And they're cool to have. Like it's a status symbol in the Magic community to have something like that that's on the reserve list and in high demand. The only time I start to have a problem with the MTG Finance world is when people use private information, you know, or stuff they're supposed to keep confidential to their benefit. And I think with a lot of the recent moves, like around Pioneer, we've seen suspicious activity on people buying cards. And that's a zero integrity kind of move. I also think about it, you know, around a spectrum of everything could be super expensive or everything could be $5 and under and super accessible. And I do think there's an argument for a collectible card game like Magic having high value cards. I think people want high value cards. And probably my biggest argument here is that golden ticket feeling is a huge reason to why we open up booster packs. If you know every pack you open costs $4 and the most expensive card you can open is $5, I don't think people are going to be as excited to buy booster boxes and crack packs and whatnot. It's easy to think about how much we just want everyone to have every card, but I think there is an argument to making sure that some of them are still high in demand. I think that there's pros and cons to each. But again, it's just not a discussion I've gotten too much into, and it's not one that I really enjoy talking about because it just feels really divisive and again doesn't get it's not a subject about the game that I'm particularly interested in at this point in time. Next question, do you enjoy brewing decks as much as playing? No, I enjoy playing much more. I could just take something out of the box, Commander, Brawl Precon, Learner deck, whatever. I'd rather just sit down, hang out, play some Magic versus, you know, chewing on what kind of decks to brew and what to play. I'm also someone who's happy to sit down and if you say, hey, let's build the best deck you can, like, because in a way that's kind of what Limited is brew up the best deck you can with the card pool in front of you. And I do really, really enjoy that. But from like a standard, modern, that kind of competitive standpoint or Commander, I'd rather just shuffle up and play. I don't want to spend my time brewing too much. And if I have time to brew, I'd rather just make content. That's kind of where I'm at with that. Number 6, dream job. I don't know. That's a tough question for me. I want to have a job that I enjoy doing. And I think that a job I enjoy is one where I'm challenged to like grow and learn, that puts me in tough spots, that forces me to really get out of my comfort zone and grow. But I also want to make sure that my skills and talents are being utilized in a way that I feel are useful and adding value. So I like being involved with strategy. I like being involved with a lot of people to people type interactions. And I definitely want to make sure that the job is paying me decent enough to where I can live comfortably and not be stressing about money. So as long as the job hits on those, it's helping me grow and learn as a person, helping me be a better person, helping me use my talents for good, and is in a role that I feel is making a difference in one way or another, and is one that compensates me fairly, like I'm going to be pretty happy. Dream job, though, I'd have to think about a bit more, like what would really be the best case scenario, bar none, that I could be job-wise. I just want to have a job that I'm happy with. I think that's above average. If you're in a job that you're happy with, that's a pretty great place to be. And I'd say right now I am in a happy place career-wise. All right, the camera died, but we're back. Next question from King of Jang. Thanks for the question, dude. With the success of your current content, is there any different MTG content you want to branch into and test with your audiences? That's a good question. I don't think there's any new kind of content. I feel like if there's content I've wanted to make, I've just made it. I don't feel like I'm in a corner, so to speak, of like, this is the kind of content this channel makes and that's why you should subscribe. I think people should subscribe to this channel because I make good content and that's it. So I guess if I want to make content, I'm going to make it. I think to your point though, I want to get back to writing more video essay type of videos. And I think that there's something to be said about me getting to express myself in a more unique way that I enjoy. Like there's definitely that argument of just making content that's current and that is what people are searching for on YouTube, but you want to make stuff that just you feel good about. And I feel like that's where I really enjoy making the video essay stuff. I definitely got bummed out the last one I made about Chromium, which was a while ago. Shared it on Reddit. Someone made a comment about how it felt like I was just copying Ristic Studies. And I've said in another video, Ristic Studies was my favorite YouTuber. I felt like his content I just connected with on a deeper level, just more so than I did with other content. And I really enjoy his perspective, how he reaches out beyond the world of Magic and where he can make connections there, as well as how it connects with him on a deeper level. I'm just all about that. So I can see where I was probably influenced even more than I was realizing. And I think a focus for me to take is how can I make these video essays that I put a lot of time and effort and heart and soul into writing and make them feel like they're more me, like just this is a Mountain Man Magic video. You know what I mean? That's something that I need to probably take a step back and be more cognizant of, is just make sure that I'm being me and not trying to copy a style that I'm just a big fan of. So yeah, I think it's just about making content that I really enjoy making, that I feel goes to a deeper level. And then even though I know it's not going to get the views that a more current topic would, for whatever reason, you know, at the end of the day, just be proud of the content I'm making and make sure that it's as much me as anything else, and try and display my skill and my ability to write a good, compelling narrative as best I can. And then hopefully the editing doesn't get in the way too much and it's still rather engaging. Next question from Warlord Hank. What's up, dude? Are you enjoying content creation? Yeah. I mean, if I wasn't enjoying it, I wouldn't keep doing it. You know what I mean? I do it because it's a hobby I really enjoy. I feel like it's a fun way to express myself and just engage with the world of Magic, however you want to interpret that. But yeah, I'm enjoying content creation. How much success would you need to consider doing it full time? That is a phenomenal question. If it could replace my salary and then some, which would be a lot. I need a lot of growth from where I'm at right now for that to be an option. You know, it's something that I definitely enjoy doing. I don't think, even with me doing it as this like part-time hobby, I can see how a full-time content creator like the professor, like you just gotta grind. You gotta have a love and a passion for it that is not gonna fade week in and week out. Like you have to be on it really every day. You have to be thinking about it, making content, editing, staying current on social media. Like it's a lot. It's no joke. Yeah, there's definitely an argument. Like once you're at the top, it's a lot easier to maintain than to try and grow. I think there's something to be said about that. But you can't take any of it for granted. You have to be invested, and you also have to be genuine. Like if you're not genuinely into it, if you're not genuinely trying to add to the community, I don't feel like you're going to keep that platform very long, which is another very admirable thing about the professor. And you can tell that he has a passion for the game. He makes content that he loves to make. He pushes for formats that he wants to make. He tries to engage people in ways that others don't. And I think that's something that I've come to respect and enjoy and admire more the more I make content. Anyway, I would try making content full time if I felt like it was something that I knew I could sustain, as well as was showing the returns that I would need to make that decision in a bit more confident manner. Like if I started getting an insane amount of patrons and my channel was starting to blow up and I was, you know, it made financial sense as well as lifestyle sense to do it, I don't see why not. You know what I mean? Why would you not take that leap and go for it? Do you feel famous yet? Absolutely not. What? No. 5,000. If 5,000 subscribers is famous, I have no idea what famous is. I will say there's one guy in our playgroup, Bruce. What up, Bruce? He did see a video of mine before he actually met me in person, and we actually like just started playing Magic. He joined the group. So in a way, that was kind of like a cool, like, oh, there is people out there that watch it beyond my like 4 friends here and my mom. You know what I mean? And my wife, obviously. So that was a cool feeling, but to say famous, like that's, no, definitely not. And then is it appropriate yet if I start bragging that I know you? Can definitely brag about knowing me wherever you want to go. That'd be very cool. Yeah. Thanks, Warlord Hank. Much appreciated. Hope life's well. Last question from Ryan Henderson, a local player in the area. Question for the video: what standard decks would you recommend playing with the new expansion in the context of arena play and LSG, but LGS play? I think you asked this a little bit before the World Tour or World Tournament that's going on right now. Right now, I'm a big, I guess I'm kind of bummed to say this, but I was playing on the arena event where you had to play with all the pro players' decks, and I really enjoyed Paulo Vitor Dama de Rosa. His Azorius control deck, as much as I can rant and complain about Teferi, I really enjoyed that deck. I thought it was super strong. That was probably my favorite deck. And if you're playing competitive, like if you're playing at that LGS that has legit people playing standard, I would definitely go with that. If you're playing on arena, like I play mono black. That's still my favorite deck. I haven't even updated it since Theros Beyond Death came out. I just like playing stuff that was fun, and I felt like Throne of Eldraine brought some fun cards to the world of Magic. But if you're also going to play in a tournament and you're going to put money and a lot of time into it, you should probably play the best deck possible. So I would go with something like that, Azorius control deck. I also like Autumn Burchett's, what's the color combo? Timur. Teamer. The Teamer deck. I just like Uro. I think Uro is just a fun card to play. So when I saw that, I was like, all right, I'm gonna run with that. And I only played Autumn's version of the deck. I don't know if there was much difference between the other people playing the same type of deck, but I thought that was just a strong deck as well. Felt really flexible. And then Mono Red actually didn't feel too terrible to me, like in the sense of just oppressive. It feels like this meta is actually not too bad. I like where Standard's at. I just wish I had a place to play it more often, or at least try and do some Standard tournaments and see how that feels based on like an LGS meta versus the Arena meta, which is super net decked and like tuned. But yeah, overall, I think it's just play what you enjoy playing the most. Like at the end of the day, if you're not enjoying what you're playing, you're not going to play it very long, right? So regardless of the format, that's the way to do it. And yeah, that's the last question. So I really appreciate y'all watching. Here's to the next 5K subs. If you have a question you want me to answer, leave it in the comments below. Thank you to my patrons for being awesome. Thank you to Card Kingdom. It's the place to buy stuff. Use my affiliate link, please, if you're going to buy from them. Really appreciate it. Thank you so much for watching, though, and we'll see you in the next 5K subs. Again, thanks to Exotic MTG for the awesome mug. Big fan. And yeah, thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next video. Take it easy. Peace.